Took a YM short, nice. So making for a very boring markets, that's for sure. Making for very boring markets. SPX is 58.32, 58.50 is going to be the main level up top. Large green candles coming up, 25.73. Price has been pretty been poop. Volatility coming into door for about 5 minutes. Yep. Nasdaq is back up again, 543 up to 572. Right there. I'm just kind of looking around things here. We have the bond still getting cranked. We have the yield still rocketing. Shaking and baking here on Nasdaq. Large green so far, 570 and going up to 5769, and a new all-time high for ES, of course, 58.80. Beautiful stuff. So Nasdaq is attempting to go higher here, but pretty much the same old stuff here. Shaking and baking, relatively small area. And Nvidia is blasting out of the top again, of course. They are 137 after being at 120 just a couple of days ago. And they're just absolutely exponential. Nasdaq is flying again, 570. About to break out again. Green after green after green after green after green. Since about 1 o'clock in the morning. Just very wicky stuff. HSI has a nice range at night, but it's 3:15 a.m. here. That's when it starts to trade. Yeah, it's terrible. So that is now, we're coming up on a 12-hour rally for NASDAQ. Not a single pullback in over 12 hours for NASDAQ. So this is definitely too much too fast. But with the amount of wicks here, it's just I'm going to wait for the first half hour to kind of drill down and do its thing. Both ES and NASDAQ are in very tight ascending wedges. They've been forming for a couple of months now, and we're reaching the upper limits of it. And they are absolutely running the table on this. They know it's OPEX week. The dealers are now deep in the money on a bunch of short calls, and an absolute crap ton of short calls at 5,800 that they are now almost 50 points in the money on. So they're heavily, heavily in the water here, which is creating this gamma move. And it's causing this crazy rally here. We're going on 12 hours straight, or running the table on us. They know OPEX is in... As for Vixpiration, will unleash volatility going into OPEX on Thursday. So we should have a lot of shaking and baking to the end of the week. But so far, in terms of in a VPA standpoint, nothing but upside. The daily candles here indicates nothing but upside here, as they are now just shoving this down your throat the entire to open the week up. 58.83. What time is it? 9:36. We are 6 minutes in. Killing the VIX for Vixpiration. They're not even killing the VIX, though. That's the problem. The VIX is still over 20. It's still hanging out in mid-20s. They're not even rolling the VIX, which makes things very interesting. We haven't seen an environment like this since coronavirus started, which it's because of everything we're facing. Everything that we have in the books in the upcoming, anywhere from 30 days to a year, is that the market is so tepid, or it's just filled with fear that they don't really know how to position. So what we're experiencing here is, again, short-dated 0DT calls being purchased and long-dated puts being purchased. And that's what's causing short IV to be very low and long IV to be very high. That's why the VIX is maintaining with no sell-off whatsoever, despite the fact that we're just blowing past all-time highs day after day. So... Hey, John, I thought you weren't trading. Welcome back. Welcome back. That's what the market does to you, baby. You try to get away and it just sucks you back in. 58.84 on ES. A little bit of top wick on NASDAQ. We've got Apple blasting out of the top, Nvidia blasting, Microsoft blasting, all of tech is blasting. Most of the market is pretty weak, though. All of the X's are, for the most part, red, except for, of course, the golden child, XLK, tech. They are blasting out of the top, which is what they do when they want to run the table on us. They just click the button on the plunge protection team. Tech rallies. Everything else is either tepid or down. And tech absolutely blasts out of the top, and that's all it needs. Up we go. Up we go. 591. I'm only here because I'm willing to pick up my with the airport right place. You're always at the right place, right time, John. I love it. I love it. Most fortunate trader on earth. Kicking butt. 591. What time is it? It is 8:38. Let's see. 588.4. Spot Gamma has their founders notes, which was all highlighted on OPEX this week. Vixpiration and OPEX. The bond market is closed today. It is, of course, Columbus Day. The stocks and equities are obviously open. The indexes are obviously open. The bond market's closed. Another top wick on NASDAQ. All the way back over. Sellers are unable to do anything with this candle except for a little bit of a top wick, but the buyers can absorb every top wick. So what we're seeing is continuous absorption by the buyers, unable to make any moves whatsoever. So we'll see what happens. But obviously this is a very, very large move. I would expect some sort of a pullback profit taking. But obviously we have to wait for the VPA signs. Can't go by just feeling. Looking at catalysts, Monday, we have got one-year Fed consumer at 11 o'clock. And that is federal budget balance at 2 o'clock and Fed Waller at 3. Very, very weak day in terms of catalysts. Tomorrow is even weaker, although we do have a couple of Fed speeches. Wednesday is even weaker in terms of catalysts. Friday, there's a crap ton of stuff on the books, but it's all weak sauce. We have the normal retail sales and stuff in the morning on Thursday, but still weak sauce. Friday, nothing. So very weak in terms of catalysts, but we do have OPEX once again. So hopefully we'll get something going on here. Whole bunch of sell-side icebergs forming on ES. I think I'm going to start to build into a short NASDAQ position here. I do think we'll have some profit taking. I think ES will come along here. The market is quite weak with the exception of NASDAQ blasting. Most of the X's are red, although the pre-market was obviously very strong. But I need to wait. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. That's right. That's right. It pounds the fist against the post and still insists he sees the ghost. What up, Futures? How you doing, buddy? How you doing? Had a very busy weekend. It was nice to stay outside, although we still don't have fall weather. I was sweating my junk off out there yesterday. I'm waiting for some nice, cool fall weather. I was looking back. It's weird, man. I was looking back at some videos and photos of the farm last year and the year before, and October 10th, all the leaves had completely changed. We had red and green and yellow and all the beautiful colors of fall. Right now, it still looks like summertime out there. Everything is bright, bright green. There's no color change whatsoever. Still warm out, 92 degrees. Like, come on, man. It's almost November. I'm trying to get some pumpkin spice lattes and Thanksgiving. Hope you had an amazing weekend. It's the final hot weekend in Texas. I love it. Tomorrow's a low 80s. Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah, I love fall weather, baby. I love fall weather. Yeah, we do have some earnings reports. Nice, Connecticut. Saw your wife did a very good job in the marathon, John. Well done. That's a huge achievement. Highs in the 70s this week in Oklahoma. Love it. Yeah, we're finally starting to get some weather this week, so I'm pretty excited about it. Nothing but green so far on NASDAQ. Still a whole bunch of sell-side icebergs. Now this has been very normal the past week. All last week we had a whole bunch of sell-side icebergs on ES. Large quantities. Did y'all watch that SpaceX landing thing? I did. That was pretty cool. Yeah, that dude's amazing. Probably one of the most influential people on Earth, man. Awesome stuff. 58.85 on ES, still straight out. We're still in breakout. ES has been in breakout mode since October 9th. And if you notice, we broke out October 9th. We had a retest on the 10th, a retest on the 11th, both of which bottom wicked, and today's the breakout day. Still under all abysmal volume, and which further confirms that this market is being ripped by 0 DTE calls. VIX is still going green on this move, 20.46, not selling off. And yeah, bonds are still, or TLT at least, the ETF, not the bonds, coming up. There's a 600 tuts on NASDAQ. Let's go take a look at Trace and Hero. We're about to hit the 15-minute candle. Let's see. Calls are, holy smokes. Yeah. That is the most notional I've seen on 0 DT calls. And I don't know how long. 1 billion in 0 DTE positive delta to the tune of negative 90 million to negative delta. It's puts. So this is monumental amount of 0 DT call buying. An absolute monumental amount of call buying on SPX. 0 DTE mainly. We have a whole bunch of short deltas up at 58.50, which we already knew from Spot Gamma's analysis, up to 58.70. So that 20-point block from 50 to 70 is going to provide resistance on SPX. And that is still 10 to 30 points higher, that little 20-point range up there. I was so confused for the last 10 minutes. I was listening to Friday's stream. Yeah, we've had people do that before. This could be a, man, if they don't roll these calls off and take profit on these calls, this is going to be a phenomenal ripper. One of those days where you just don't even want to look at a short. That's a phenomenal amount of call buying. So what I'm understanding is that all the moves are currently based off 0 DTs. The past 2-3 weeks, yes. The volume has been so low, the institutions aren't necessarily buying the indexes. It's just they're ripping 0 DTE calls and then dumping them. Ripping them and dumping them. Ripping them and dumping them. Over and over and over again. Is this a trace tool? A-firm, it is. So here's what I'm seeing. I'll show you. If you look at the trace tool, so we've got all this, where'd it go? I've got all this short delta right here, which is showing all that resistance, short calls, which hasn't provided a lot of resistance the past couple of days. But they are now blasting out of the top again. Absolute no resistance. This is not a day that you want to short. With all this momentum here, this is absolutely phenomenal on NASDAQ. They've been running the table now for 12 hours straight, and now what, 300 points higher? Tons of 0 DT call buying, an absolute astronomical amount. I cannot stress that enough. Phenomenal amount of call buying. And still increasing, 1.4 billion in positive delta. That is the most I've seen maybe since springtime, if not lower. That's just guessing. And outrageous while volume remains low. They're running the table, baby. They're running the table. Staring at NASDAQ, I like what bottom range is defending, and now I just don't get it. I never imagined we'd hit SPY anytime soon. It's crazy, man. We live in a crazy world, dude. Inflation, the inflation is still being priced in to go out of control, and the market has to price that in, so it rockets. It rockets. Where do you see that 1 billion? If you look on the Hero tool, it shows the actual notional. Now on, let me hit refresh on this baby. You have to make sure that you are on the right SPX, because you have the S&P weighted for all the names, and then you've got the SP index itself. So I'm looking at the index itself, which is showing right now 1.28 billion after spiking to 1.4 billion. Demolition of institutional call wall last week. Nice, I like it. Well done, Flying Fish. Good stuff. NASDAQ attempted a very small top wick and then rocketed. That's what they're doing. Every time you see a small, low-volume top wick, what that is absorption. That is buyer's absorption of every attempt of sell. And when you see that, that's why you have to look at the volume. So in this case, if you want to cast this little momentum in the first half hour, you need to be 15-minute, 5-minute candles, stuff like that. So every time you see a top wick, your eyes need to immediately go down to the volume. If there's no volume, then that's just buyer's absorption for a move higher. They're absorbing every attempt of the sellers to go higher. That's where you get that top wick higher nonsense. It's because if there's no volume, then that's just buyer's absorption, and they rocket ship. And that's what we're getting, the Monday explosion here into OPEX week. And this is a phenomenal, phenomenal move. $26.30 so far. We're already up 100 points on NASDAQ from the open, and we are up 300 points since 9 o'clock last night and still going. No selling in sight, no top wick in sight. Just absolute launch pad, and they're squeezing the whole. Look at this. Phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal here. Continuing to go, baby. They are now up to 1.6 billion in notional. They're putting on hundreds of millions of dollars in calls as we go higher. They're just, I'm telling you, they are. I'm watching this in real time, dumping into calls as we go higher. Insane. Now up against the 58.50 wall. The first attempt at resistance right here. 58.50 short call wall. That's rolled up from 5800. We blew through 5800 like it wasn't even there, like a wet paper bag. I'm having to re-scroll my charts because tech is so exponential. I did hear you mention Vail though. How often do you make it out there? Every year. We usually go every year if we can swing it twice a year. Because with my deal with the military, military gives you, I think they upped the price to $170 this year. It was $140, but for $170 now, military gets a season pass for me and the whole family. So for $140, I can ski as many times as I want at Vail for free. Whereas usually it's like $200 a day for normal people, quote unquote normal people. So it makes a typically very expensive trip very affordable. And so what we do is we get we find us a rental place that's outside of Vail, about a 10-minute drive, and it's like $350 a night. With my wife, she gets rental cars very, very cheap with her company card, so we get a rental car for next to nothing. So we can go to Vail. We usually is like a lifetime trip for some people for like next to nothing. We're out the door for like $2,500 for a family of 5 for an entire week at Vail, which is pretty phenomenal. Military, baby. Military. Let's see. So 58.93. I'm watching very closely here to see if they're going to dump anything. So they have rolled off from 1.6 down to 1 billion. So they've rolled off 600 million jump change. And yeah, we'll see if that continues to go. But until then, man, I am not even going to come close to shorting this until I see any kind of sign, because this is one of those days where it just goes. So far. Now, this definitely is too much too fast. I completely agree. And there may be a good short opportunity. But as of yet, signs aren't there. I know better than to step in front of a freight train. That's it. I'm joining the military, so I can go to Vail twice a year. If you know how to play the game, the military gives you a lot of great benefits. A lot of great benefits. Unless you're Superman. Oh, yeah. I'm so confused. Do you know why we would be seeing such different numbers? I do not. I've refreshed it to make sure I'm getting good data. NASDAQ's still going higher, by the way. I'm refreshing to make sure I'm getting good data, and it's I don't know why it would be showing different numbers. I'm on the SPX index. No, that's what I'm showing. Man, my trail cams are going off like crazy. 58.93. I would be willing to bet they are going to defend this 58.50 area. That is unheard of for Family 5 and Vail. Yeah. Going with your numbers. Hey, either way, it's showing pretty aggressive buying, which is working out pretty well. So, all in all, I'm just looking for aggression. That's what I use this on. You know, it's fun to look at the numbers, but look for aggression. When you see that little blue line going straight up, or I guess in this case the orange line going straight up, buy, baby. Just get out of the way and ole. NASDAQ has not put on a single red move yet, still going higher to 2641. We have 7 minutes till the top of the hour. My stepmom used to work on Vail Mountain in the Cookie Lodge 1 day a week, and she get free lift tickets for the fam. Nice. Yeah, beautiful place. Beautiful place. Hmm. 58.93. NASDAQ is still holding 640. Not a single top wick that holds. And they are chewing into 58.50. Yep. I had to go down to the 5 minutes just kind of get an accurate reading here, and still they are absorbing every single top wick so far. 15 minute has been my jam for the past couple of weeks. It's been kind of filtering out the crap. So ES is blasting higher here. We're getting to the point where all of my macro levels to the upside are completely based on options data, and the market is not respecting the options data in terms of levels. So it's like it's blowing through everything. I've represented my macro levels in terms of as much price action as I can, which is the upside now is nil. The options data and expected moves. I've even brought in the upper panel of the wedge. It's blown through everything, like it wasn't even standing, like it wasn't even there. So at this point, I wouldn't heavily make as rash decisions on the macro levels to the upside as I usually do. Normally, if I'm coming on a macro level, I'll blindly short it or blindly buy it because I trust them so much. But with this type of price action, I would not do that with the upside macro levels or any other resistance level to the upside. Now, the downside levels, absolutely, because they're still based on structure. But we have now smoked every institutional call while it's been on the books in the past 2 weeks. And they're doing that because this week is OPEX week. All right, Dow's not moving, Russell's not moving, XLF is not moving. The entire market is not moving actually, with exception to the golden child. NASDAQ is absolutely ripping your face off. 2658. It's now up another 120 points after being up already 200 points in pre-market, with no end in sight, absorbing every top wick and going. Just going. So 6K this week. Spot Gamma put out a case for 6K by what's occurring here is that we have the most contentious election in history coming up here in less than a month, and then immediately after that we have a FOMC rate cut decision. So we have two potentially egregious events coming up here where the market doesn't really know what to do with it because we don't know who's going to win the election. So they're pricing in a lot of risk here by hedging their portfolio. That's why we're seeing the VIX. That's why we're seeing all this action here. If the response to the election is bullish, if we figure out who's going to win very quickly, then the market's going to freaking just rip your face off. 6,100, 6,200 by the end of the year, which is ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. What is that? 200% higher than what we saw 3 years ago? Is it normal for the market to climb 200 for an index to climb 200%, the S&P in 3 years? I don't know. You know, it's absolutely outrageous. Trump on Rogan soon. That's going to break the internet if that happens. Seems like a bearish week. It's going up and then straight down. That is my thesis. That is my thesis. I think we'll have a very green open to the week, and then a red move late Wednesday, early Thursday into OPEX to take some of this off. But this, I mean, this is outrageously green open. Outrageously green open. So right now, you either long it or you just sit on your hands. That's it. There's no shorting whatsoever. The 0DD calls are still ripping into tearing. The VPA still says up. The hero line is still going straight up. We're attacking 58.50 for the first time. And so far, we're just moseying right on through it like it's not even there. And which is now causing a bit of a squeeze. This fake tan is horrendous. Who told him that looks good? Yep. Coming along, baby. Coming along. So far, not a single top wick in the first 30 minutes of the market. We'll see what the 10 o'clock candle gives us. Tesla is a heavy short. Tesla is looking terrible. Their daily chart does confirm downside. NASDAQ is about to explode through 270. Literally exponential since the open. Just long it and hold, baby. Roll it up. Not even close to tripping any stops. Not even close. Every single candle is higher. Just continue to blast. Phenomenal, phenomenal action here. One of the scariest markets, man. This is an incredibly scary market if you look at the daily chart. This market will go down in the history books. You'll be reading about this in 20 years, man. While we're sitting down there and SPX is like 750. Like, remember when NASDAQ hits, or SPX hit 6,000? And the market and the world was falling apart? It's going to be fun. I'm just kidding. It's not going to be that low. Daily goal met. Nice, Damien. Well done, buddy. This is some pretty phenomenal stuff. They are squeezing out everything before OPEX. That's what they're doing. So that's what they're doing. Apples have a little bit of a top wick there, but everything else is nice and strong. Call buying is still nice and strong. We already blew through 58.50 on SPX. Next target will be 58.75. TLT continues to get smoked. Yep. Yep. Very weird. I'm telling y'all, I'm warning you. Only take a short if there's gross signs to do so. Do not be one of those people who gets caught off sides here. There's a reason why they're smoking every single call wall. There's a purpose to do that. Don't fight it. Don't fight fate. Sitting on my hands, I know the moment I'm like, yeah, it'll jump on the train. The stupid thing will fully dump. I feel you, man. The bond market is telling the story for me. The big dogs aren't buying what the Fed is selling. 100%, man. You're right. A little help from what would be nice. Ruh-roh. NASDAQ still going higher here, but we'll see what they can do. Closed out 300% profit. Beautiful. The daily and the 1 hour NASDAQ are both set up like you talked yesterday on the Tier 2 call. A-firm, they are. A-firm. Until you get a top wick with volume, this is all upside. The buyers are absorbing every single little candle, which means this is one of those days where you either have to sit on your hands or long the market until you see the sign. And it opens up your eyes. You saw the sign. Sort of the open with no stop loss. Don't do that. Don't do that. I still think the TLT long play is one of the best plays you could trade in the next 12 to 18 months. Because here's the deal with the bond market. If the bond market continues to crater, then, if that continues, then there's nothing else to worry about. We'll be trading potatoes and carrots and cartons of milk in a couple of years. And if you're right, you make a crap ton of money. So in my opinion, it's time to start buying up bonds, baby. I wanted to short SPY Friday close, decided to paper trade it. Glad it's not real money. Nice, Richard. I haven't taken a swing trade in weeks, man. In weeks. I just don't trust this market at the moment, so I'm just playing it as I get it, and there you go. I've been averaged down on TMF. Nice. Little leverage, I like it. What's the end game for all this? Clearly the government is willing to cut spending. Well, y'all know my views on the government. I trust them just about as far as I could throw them. I think a lot of this, just to keep it economic, to keep it, I guess, professional, my take on it is international parties. Well, there's two parts to it. One, the government promised they would be tightening into this phase to undo the liquidity. They haven't been. They've been expanding. They've been continuing treasury purchases this whole time. And two, the fact that the China and Japan. Other than that, I don't know what their end game is. It's just a lot of cray stuff out there, man. Who knows? This is the craziest market I've ever seen. Obviously, it is the craziest market anyone's ever seen. But the beautiful thing is that if you look at the volume, every time we have volume, it tells it a volume spike. We talked about it yesterday in the Tier 2 room. Is that if you could just track the volume spikes, you can kind of figure out what the script is here. And that's really all that matters. Everything else is just speculation and fun conversation. We all know who has a surplus of potatoes if it gets to that point. 100%, baby. 100%. $58.95 on ES. First little itty bitty rejection at 58.50. But still, $24.6 million. Short from 662. Nice. Well done. A little bit of red, a little bit of red. We've got, 1007 here from 58.93. Oh, the last few months I just trade the charts. I do not care about the news. They're all biased. No, that's 100%. Even all the fun conversation we have in here, which most of the time is fun, it doesn't mean anything to trading. It's all about what is the charts doing. Everything else is just conjecture, speculation, whatever big fancy word you could throw in there. So, what we're seeing here is that the last time we had a high volume influx was August 5th, which noted the bottom of the market, and we've been up ever since. So until we get that, you cannot, in good faith, take a swing short, unless you just want to speculate on one little candle with small position size. But in terms of a confident swing short play, there is not there. It's all, until then, it's all buy up. It's all long and up, and I would probably look for a target about, 2870, 880, something like that on NASDAQ. ES, I would probably gun for, at this point, 5920. I'm winning with my Tesla put. Nice. Yeah, Tesla is definitely confirmed downtrend. Tesla's a great short. with their VPA. $58.94. Nvidia still going higher. Imagine you're 65.80, could cut back on spending, social benefits, balance the budget, everyone will hate you in your 401k just before you die. Print money. Another bottom wick on ES, still climbing up. NASDAQ with a very small little red. That's automatically bottom wicking, of course, into 650. Looking at the 15-minute chart, we have a small red forming. It's a doji. I do not have a volume spike, of course. And we're 9 minutes into this candle, so we're a little bit beyond halfway through this 15-minute candle. I would love to get a good confirmation. Do I have any quick info regarding the China stimulus? Not anything quick. Not anything quick. I would have to get into a couple of sources and get you a point in the right direction. That's believable, which is very difficult. It's very difficult to find anything truthful out there these days. Usually you have to look for independent sources. $58.95. NASDAQ is slowly retreating. Blew a couple accounts in MNQ, but caught the nice dump on MGC. Nice, yo, cheerio. Technically, the dollar's been devalued for over 100, 200 years, so there you go. Yep. And, you know, the argument nowadays is not necessarily inflation, because you're exactly right. You know, inflation's been up and the dollar's been devalued forever. That's why you always see the conversions for adjusting for inflation. But the main issue is that the cost of things are skyrocketing, and the amount of income, the average income, is not. The average income, for all intents and purposes, is pretty much the same as what it was 15 years ago. I think it's up like $2,000 or $3,000, something like that. But the cost of a house is what, up 400 or 500%, the average cost of a house. So costs are skyrocketing, income can't keep up, to the point where our kids aren't going to be able to buy houses. $58.95. Still not really any real idea to short just yet. Now, here's the deal. We've got 4 minutes until a 15-minute candle finishes on the NASDAQ. If we have a little bit of a bounce back up and retest the 2670, if we top wick off of that on the second retest, especially at the culmination of the 15-minute candle, that might be a good short opportunity. I got a 2.5 cola increase. Yeah, and you got a pizza party, man. You can't sleep on the pizza parties, baby. You know how much that does for morale? If U.S. average person's income went up, how would the billionaires afford their lifestyle? Absolutely. $26.38. The icebergs have ceased on ES. NASDAQ is still kind of creeping lower here. Right here. So what's the solution? Lower house prices? I mean, you got to stop printing money. I don't think there is a solution at this point. I think we're too far down the rabbit hole. All right, no turning back now. Signed up for Tier 1 last week. All right, let me take a look. right here. Here comes the red. So we didn't get the retest at the top. Yeah, shoot me a DM. I think I got you taken care of. But shoot me a DM to make sure that's the right person, and I'll make sure I get you squared away. All right, red candles. Finally, a red pullback. It's the largest red candle we've gotten since Thursday on Nasdaq. So, on the 15-minute. Little bit of a pullback. 58.95. I got a real estate investor interested in my home. We were having a call on Wednesday morning. I'll be asking 50% above price by Zillow. I'm exempt. Oh, nice. Nice. Throw Hail Marys, baby. Throw Hail Marys. My neighbor just did. I told y'all my neighbor, in fact, I had dinner with him last night. He threw out a Hail Mary, put his house up way more than what it's worth. Sat back, and he got it. Cash offer. Every single person, you know, before I moved, I lived in a pretty higher-end neighborhood. Every single house that sold accepted a cash offer. Not one single loan on the whole street. There's just so much money in this economy. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And because it's all from people selling their homes and properties. That's what they're doing. Older couples are selling their 50 acres, 100 acres for millions and millions, and they're just buying cash homes, downsizing. That's literally every single time that happens. It's someone sold a bunch of land for a bunch of money and then bought a house for cash. It's absolutely outrageous. Phenomenal. They're just strapped with cash. Market's still rolling over here. Finally, a little bit of profit taking NASDAQ. 15 minutes dropping back over here. Nice little move lower. 15-minute finally took out the prior 622. Deceitful tailspoon of sugar. All right. It's 2620. First, the S&P got up to 58, 54 here, and now have a small red. NASDAQ is definitely a lot more profit-taking here than ES. ES only came off a couple of points, but NASDAQ's down, what, about 60, 70. Bonds are still hanging out flat. 15-minute chart looks nice and juicy here. SPX. NASDAQ is still filling lower. Nice. About to hit the 50 fib. Love it. Nice, AR. Well done, buddy. They have dumped the calls all the way back over now and about to get into negative call territory. So that's what it was. They rolled the calls, and now the market dumps. This is the same exact thing every single day since September 13th. They pump the calls, they dump the calls every day. Because we don't have any real volume. Until we have any real volume breakout, these rallies aren't going to hold. Maybe I should ask for more and only settle for the price I want. That's what I'll be doing. Ask for 75% Zillow, settle for 50. Do it. Do it. Beautiful stuff, man. So I'll show you this too on SPX. They rolled off a lot of that exposure. So you see that call wall 58.50. By the way, we just bounced off the 9 EMA too. For those tracking. I always turn it on trends. Are you allowed to stream trace? Yeah. I just got to figure out a good way to do it. Because in order to stream it, it shows my browsers. I'd rather have ice cream if I'm losing a foot. Ice cream is the best treat. It is the best treat. Alrighty. 2600. We now have a 15-minute move down under 622. What's funny, though, is that the VIX was moving higher on the move up, and now it's moving lower on the move down. It's moving with the indexes here. So, swanky R2, baby. Swanky R2. NASDAQ is a little bit heavier here than ES at the moment. What's up, 219er? Let's get that hogwash, baby. Other sectors are strengthening. Well, the S&P is holding up. It's funny because NASDAQ was leading the way, blasting higher, but they pulled back a lot more than the S&P. S&P is still no short signal whatsoever on ES, up to 5,800 on ES and 5,850 on SPX. NASDAQ pulled back 70 points, almost 100 points. I've learned over time I'm quite short biased. I see moves down and I execute them better than moves up. You know what? A lot of people are going to give you crap for that. There's nothing wrong with that. Linda Raschke in her book talks about that she knew a trader that only played the short side. She just waited for pullbacks. So if that's what you want to play, then cool, play it. Just know how to play it and when to play it. It's very difficult. I don't envy you. Just know when to play it. Play to your strength, baby. Know thyself. That's right. That's right. $6.20. I know thyself like I know thy donuts. Oh, yeah. Do you remember much earlier in the year when we looked at Ricey Rolls Royce? They were 450-ish now, then now they're 705. It was my absolute best COVID play. Nice. Yeah, I remember. I actually remember talking about that. I was like, man, Rolls Royce. That's a high-end stock right there. Six two three. ES is still going. If they clear this area, I would say another 20 points coming up. Here comes the ES 5900 here. NASDAQ is 637. I still don't have a good short setup, so until I see any kind of high volume move, still play the bottom wicks. ES is breaching higher, 58.50 again. Still no sign of anything but upside. Nothing but upside, baby. NASDAQ still going here. We have green. $5,900. Let's go take a look. NASDAQ, NVIDIA. Microsoft is breaching, dude. 423.64. Microsoft coming along. They have now rebought all the calls that they sold. They dumped all the calls back over, now rebuying them, and they're selling puts. So just a little bit of shakeout. Anybody do anything fun this weekend? What'd you do? Talk to me, Goose. $635 NASDAQ. Today is a high of 70. Beautiful. Low of 36. Time to get your garlic in the ground, baby. And I'm going to plant some fall garlic. Played a nice round of golf with my dad for his birthday. Beautiful. Sounds fun. Grilling and running my generator because of Milton. Didn't get power back till until yesterday. I'm glad to hear you got it back. Hit up the driving range with a couple of buddies trying to get my golf game on par. Nice. A little golf. Golf is fun. What are the indicators that they see buying calls and then dumping them? I'm using a Spot Gamma's Hero Indicator. Hero Indicator. And I use that in conjunction with Trace. If you're interested, I do have an affiliate link. It'll get you 40% off. If that's something you'd be interested in. I'm trying to get I'm trying to reach out to get a Top Step code to get permanent discounts, because when you have an affiliate specific code, you get a big discount. And I don't want to use anybody else because I haven't tried anybody else, but they haven't responded to me yet. I figured y'all use Top Step anyway. It might benefit you. Still 93 here? Jeez Louise. I used to play a lot of golf. Haven't played golf since 2018. What's up, NTG? Good morning. Buenos dias. I recommended Beluski. They increased their drawdown up 150 from 100 from 1,000. Their 150 static is 1,000 drawdown. That's tight, man. Five micros. There's your max leverage. Interesting. NASDAQ is filling higher. Price rejects 600 micro VP one setup. I'm going to confirm downside. Follow that. Yeah, the time of the short is coming on the macro scale, but it's not here yet, so just be patient. If that's what you want to do, just be patient. Canadian Thanksgiving this weekend. Went to my new Haitian buddies for turkey dinner. Turns out it what? Is that a joke or is that real? Oh my gosh. Hey, Goose is pretty good. Don't get me wrong. $58.55 SPX breaching through 55, which may bring us to 70. 58.70 will be the next target if we hold this 58.50 break. Call buying still heavy, put selling still heavy. Nice, Mojo. Well done, buddy. Kicking butt and taking names. Golf's a lot like trading to me. I know what I need to do, but execute is another story. Yeah, well, you got to put in the effort, man. You know, I know what I want to do with a golf club. I want to put it in the fairway and then stick it 3 feet from the pin. I just can't do it. But with trading, I can control a lot more variables for me. Avoiding the big miss. And knowing not when to play. Knowing when not to play, which has been the past 3 weeks. Still learning to sit on my hands. 58.55 here. Let's go take a look at Liquidity. Hey, where's my boy Trader J? Haven't seen him today. Listening. What's up, slacker? That always reminds me of Back to the Future. You're Slacker McFly. VIX is now beginning to shift lower here, 20.09. They just took out the prior pivot area. ES still has not had a single move lower. Been straight up since 9 o'clock last night. Is Trader J the dude on TradingView always making excellent callouts? I don't know about TradingView, but he's always in the server making excellent callouts. Here comes the green, 59.02. But so far, NASDAQ isn't moving anymore. And hopefully this isn't back to the choppy stuff, which may be. 583 here. Yeah, definitely. I'll get that for you. There you go. Yeah, in my opinion, it's one of the better options analytic tools out there, and just because it's very, one, you get the tool itself, which is very visual and easy to use, but you also get the notes too. You get the analysis of Brett, which is pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. How do I monitor SPY options? I use Spot Gamma's tool, Hero's tool. That gets me the option flow of the zeros, which becomes more and more important. NASDAQ is bouncing back up. 645. Going. What's the volume indicator you use again? I use volume profile. Volume profile. All brokers should have it. ES 5902 still hanging out there, kind of creeping into resistance and holding, but no signs of supply whatsoever, so that most likely will transact. NASDAQ just bottom wicked off of 631, back up to 650. Is here indicator that clutch? If you like to monitor zero DTE action, then it's the best out there in terms of zero DTE flow. If you like to monitor the options flow, then yes. If you don't care about options flow, then obviously you don't need it. You're welcome. Definitely. Appreciate you being here. So far, no downside thesis for today's session, at least. This is 2644. What does it mean on Hero when the flow pops up? I just started using Trace and Hero. Seems really good. Yeah, it's very good. I'm very impressed with it. I'm I'm not sure what you mean. Do you have an example? Am I correct in assuming income ETFs and high dividends are meant to stretch out your money in retirement? However, your investment will decrease over time. Um, what do you mean? Well, assuming that you're someone who wants to set up a dividend portfolio to live off the dividends, then it really depends on the size of your portfolio. If you it depends on the stock itself. It depends on the qualified dividends. It depends on your tax. It depends on a whole lot of stuff when it comes to dividend. That's why I'm not necessarily too much of a supporter of a dividend portfolio, dividend based portfolio. I think it can be very frugal or very beneficial if you start very young and setting up their portfolio. But you've got to choose the right stocks. You got to make sure they're qualified, and you've got to be put together a portfolio that you don't have to draw out of. All you're doing is taking the dividend draws, which normally how it looks is you start to position yourself very early in a lot of dividend paying stocks, and you just you enroll in the drip, and then once you're ready to start taking the dividend yields, you just disenroll from the drip. Instead, you start actually drawing those dividends out, making it thus taxable, and that's hopefully when you reach the point where you no longer have to touch your original investment. I actually don't know what that means, NTG. I'll look into it. 5902. Or you could just buy the SPY and get the dividend and reinvest in the S&P. Yeah, the dividend SPY is not the greatest. I look at the dividend on SPY as just, you know, icing on the cake. I buy SPY for the stock appreciation. The dividend it comes with is just like a small cherry on top. There you go. If I'm going to do something high dividend yields, I'm going to look at some dividend kings. I'm going to look at, you know, REITs. REITs are the king of dividends. If you can make sure that you maintain the dividend, if you can find a good quality REIT that'll continue to pay without suspending or cutting, I mean that's money in the bank. The dividend percentages on those things are phenomenal. I had AT&T in large quantities back in the day that paid 51 cents a share. Now it's too low. Yeah, most dividend stocks are just too low to worry about unless you've got a couple of $100,000 worth of stock. Whew, man, I think this November and December, in my opinion, will be the most volatile November and December we've ever seen. Whether it be green or red, I think it'll be the most volatile November and December. Regardless of what your political leanings are, I think we all can agree that this is an incredibly contentious election and one for the books. And whenever all this is now finished and we know who the final candidate is, I think it'll release a phenomenal amount of volatility. And not on top of that, we have the inflation risk, we have the geopolitical risk, and we have the FOMC coming up in November and December. I think it's going to be a phenomenal amount of volatility. I think that's why this market is so tight right now, is they know it's a coiled spring right now, like a cobra ready to strike, and they know it's coming. And it's going to be fun. That's why I'm preserving capital. I have barely even touched my IBKR in 3 weeks. Did that make sense, Catchy? I want to make sure I understand your question correctly. Epic game of financial chicken. This is the game for the books of financial chicken. Chicken. One of my favorite investing YouTubers inspired me to make a dividend-targeted portfolio. He's starting investing into a blue-chip dividend-paying stocks when he was young. I believe retired in his early 40s because of paying $100,000 a year in dividends qualified. Since he's married, he pays no taxes on $94,000 of it. That's amazing. Amazing. If you could start young enough, they're very. I'm a believer in them, but the later you start, the less I want you to get into them. That's what I would say. So if you started young enough, man, that's awesome. Because they start out as a very low yield, low risk venture, and very unsexy venture. But when you're 40 and 50, they become very sexy. $26.23. So we're back to chop here for the time being. Nasdaq has stopped flat since the 9:45 candle, so about an hour, which is why we're just kind of bumping the gums here. It's just some ETFs have a super high dividend, but there's no telling how the ticker will do years from now. For example, Coney. Yeah, that's why you have to diversify. I mean, 100%. So if you're going to be putting together portfolios strictly for dividends, then diversify. You want to put yourself in a bunch of blue chips, of course, and then put a little bit of riskier stuff that pays high dividends that may or may not suspend in the future. For example, look at Intel. They suspended their dividend, kills the stock. So that's the risk you have to take, is that over the course of 20, 30 years, you have to make sure that the items you're buying do not decrease to the point where you're losing more money than you're making on the dividend. Which is why you have to diversify into blue chips and high value stuff, into a lot of other stuff. Monday before October expiration, the Dow's up 31 and 41 on a Columbus Day. I'll start a lot of dividend growth stocks too, like Microsoft, AVGOV, names that don't necessarily pay a high dividend but increase their dividend 50% year over year. Also get high share price appreciation will mix into the dividend king like KOXM. I love it. It's beautiful stuff, man. Financial wealth, man. That is the best thing you could do. The best thing you could do. What do you think about the 614 sell or buy on NASDAQ? Let me take a look. 614. Right now, 614 is about the little micro support we've got going on this hour. Let me go to my volume profile. It is sitting right on top of the volume profile for the 4-hour chart. Right now, the 4-hour volume profile is right at 600, so it's about 14 points above that, which is a lot of structure in the market. If you go back and look, This is also a support and retest for NASDAQ. This 620 area is the support resistance flip from back in July. We rejected it in June. We used it as support in July. We fell through it in August. So this is now the support resistance flip right here. It's a main area. And if NASDAQ closes over this and holds, then I'd probably say we're going to 21.2 in the upcoming days or sessions. So this is a pretty critical area to hold support. NXP tax-free bond ETF, about 4% dividend. Love it. I just didn't want to think about their account, so I bought the ETF. Smart. If the sell's back down with volume, would you think about swinging puts? I mean, if VPA says it, if I have a high volume top wick, I would probably look for tomorrow for a small little bounce and then crash, even if it's an overnight, going into the OPEX. I don't know if we'll get that today or tomorrow, but if that does occur, then yeah, the VPA tells me to look for swing puts, and I'll consider swing puts. I do think eventually we're going to have a move down here this week. Little red move on NASDAQ here, down. We have liquidity at 58.92. NASDAQ is slowly trickling down into the 600 test. They've got liquidity at 530, 538. A little bit of pressure coming on. I'm seeing Nvidia and Microsoft gave up a lot of their gains. Or I'm sorry, Microsoft gave back a lot of their gains, and Nvidia did not. CVD is 1,000 but diminishing. Here comes NASDAQ, a little bit of a drop. We have small amount of put buying, call selling here. Rolling over the calls. Large red candles. NASDAQ giving it out. Retest area. $25.94, $5.93. $5.90. NASDAQ gives out this. I'll look for $5.60. $5.82. Nice little engulfing red here. We do have a small uptick in volume on the 5 and 15. Small uptick in volume. They are pressing lower. The 5-minute ES projected volume is picking up. Yeah, we do have an uptick in volume here. Nice little move down, 5.75. Still, I'm sure y'all have identified this little channel here by now. We do have a little downward channel on NASDAQ. Overall, though, NVIDIA is not moving. So the golden child is still holding everything up here. We have a less little 4-hour red candle. We have the 15-minute reducing. And still defending of this lower price on the 58.50. Why does selling not happen on low volume? It can happen on low volume. It just usually doesn't because the way short selling and drop in the market is different from climb in the market. The market inherently goes up. Think about your body. Your body is made to stay alive. It's made, it's built to heal itself. Your heart beats, and when things are working right, your body's pretty boring, right? Your heart pressure is nice and small. Everything's fine. But when your body's about to die, things are going crazy. Heart rhythms all over the place. Everyone's freaking out. Chaos, compressions, subdural hematomas, all this stuff. So it's the same thing with the market. The market is always trying to go up. The market is inherently designed to buy with all of the pensions and the treasuries and everything. The money's coming in here. It's always buying and going up. So when the market does drop, it's usually fear-induced, liquidity-driven. Usually happens on high volume. Sometimes it goes down on low volume. If it's a prolonged little kind of downtrendy day, yeah, sometimes it'll go down in volume. But even when that happens, it's usually initiated by high volume and then just kind of transforms into a lower volume sell-off. So if you want to catch a downside move, go out to at least the 15-minute, if not the daily chart, and look for high volume influx. If the market is climbing, and then all of a sudden we have a top wick and the day closes with extremely high volume, then most likely that means that we have entered the supply. It doesn't mean that we're going to drop the very next day. We could consolidate for 2 weeks and then drop back over. It just means that most likely we've hit some sort of supply that it's time to reduce back down, and that's where you need to look for. $5.98. But we're always dying. We are, yeah. Whatever makes you trade better. Oh my gosh. So, yeah, so a little downward channel here. NASDAQ is still falling over 587. Does appear that we're going to retest this lower rejection or lower bounce area. We have liquidity 537. So if this gives out, that'll be my target. 537, 540. 867, 5309. $577 still dropping here. Looking at the hero, we are having some call selling, put buying here. So they're taking some profit. They're taking some profit coming into the 11 o'clock time frame. Red candles taking out this lower end, and that'll confirm down to 537. $577. 574. Does NASDAQ have options? Yes, it does. NDX. NDX is NDX is to the NASDAQ that is SPX is to the ES. Have I played them? Yes, but you need a lot of money. They are super, super expensive. At the money contracts, 10, 12 grand, depending on cost, depending on IV. All right, here comes 537. Engulfing red, confirm lower once we accepted 594. 537 is on deck here. And they're about to give out the entire day, baby. Beautiful stuff. $537. All right, here comes 537. All the way down. 552, 537. Once that gives out, if that does give out, I would expect it's gonna have some support there. But if that does give out, then we'll look for a lower target of about 490, 485, 490. But so far, they're breaking this lower end of the channel. They're taking out the support. We have a pivot here at 537 is where we bounced last time at 930. This will be the overnight. This will be the morning range test. Right here. I bet they liquidity sweep 527 and then they'll bottom wicket. Here's a large red push. There's the 537. And so far we're having a bottom wick. Let's see what they do with it. They'll sweep 537 liquidity and bottom wick. Large red. Five, 3, 6. New red, yeah. So they just put in a high, and now they put a new low so far, but they should defend this area at least once. Now they're stacking more liquidity down to 500. Beautiful. Fantastic. Once they gave out that 594 target, it was all the way down to 537, and they're already bottom wicking right here. So, fantastic stuff. Trim up your shorts or position yourself into a scalp long. And I think I may call it a day on that. Thanks, Twizzy. Appreciate it, buddy. Beautiful. What was important about the 594? If you look at the 15-minute chart, the 594 was the support from 1015. So we had the large red dump off the high, and then 1015 they bottom wicked it hard off 594. So, knowing that there's a implied demand there, once we clear that area, that's indication that the buyers or the sellers have absorbed any kind of buying, and it's now time to shift lower to the next demand. Which in this case, I looked at 537. That was also around the opening low. Most likely, we're going to have some defense there. We did have about a 20-point bounce there. Nothing crazy, but a small 20-point bounce. And if they close under this morning low, then I would say they're going to start giving back a good deal of overnight range. So this is the last line of defense before we start getting into the overnight range, and it'll get pretty aggressive if we go down. Reached my goal for the day. Nice NTG. Do you think a peasant like me would benefit from Tier 2? I was going to do it, but more motivation took a lot of my weekend and evening times. I don't think it'll be participate anyway. Now I have more time. The benefits of Tier 2 are the weekly calls and the macro levels and then the weekly analysis. So it depends on how down, how much you want to get in the weeds and look at the all prior stuff. Because obviously we have the prior weekly calls. You can go back and read and listen to them the past 3 years. You can listen to all of them if you like. We've got, right now we're going through the VPA session. We do it on Wednesdays, Sundays, and Thursdays most of the time. So it really depends on how much you want to put into it. Bottom wick up 537. Reached my goal for the day. Nice NTG. Great job, buddy. Love your content and delivery. Very thankful. Stumbled across you. Nice, Adam. I appreciate you being here, buddy. I'm grateful you stumbled across me, too. Let me know if you have any questions about anything. When the market starts doing this low volume chop that we've been experiencing the past month, you have to fall back on your foundation, which is the stuff I rely on heavily. The VPA, the first hour opening range, and then, of course, liquidity levels, which that lined up perfectly. Not only do we have 537 in NASDAQ on Bookmap, we also had the morning low there. And for my Tier 2 peeps, it's there too. So a fantastic resource. We swept 537 down to 528, and then we have this nice little aggressive bottom wick here. So not to sound too Finex, but as expected, all the way down. I've been a lot more consistent going with my second year of profitability in trading, which is exciting me more. I just try to solidify a better understanding of trading for myself. I had a couple of avenues where I understand the mechanics behind with their live stream. Be able to talk about it more like my mind's nice. Yeah, that's the intent of the Tier 2 calls, is that I go over, a curriculum that's usually custom tailored to that market environment. In this case, we're doing VPA. And then, we take questions that are more hands-on. We go through examples. So it's a place where we can get together and just kind of discuss the higher level topics. Some people hate it. Some people sign up and they hate it. Some people sign up and they love it. It really depends on what you're looking for. Different strokes for different folks. Now, when you've got these morning low touches like this, probability is in your favor. Probability is in your favor. So what you could do, set a long at these levels, consistently, accounting for a liquidity sweep, set a stop on them, and take your hands off, and see how many times you can catch a bottom range to top of range move. Where everyone else is trying to short the low here, thinking we're about to break into a trend down day, we instead could be playing the morning range. And so far, this would have net you about 30 points. Not too shabby on NASDAQ. Let's see if we can get anything more. What about ES? Let's take a look. ES is not nearly as predictable or bearish as Nasdaq. ES is still holding 5,900. We had a little 5-point rejection there. They haven't even come close to coming down to their opening range. Nasdaq is much more playable, in my opinion, today than ES. But I'm going to give this another 15 minutes or so, and I'm calling it a day. That may be it for me. Value rotated back up, YM new high of day. Yep. Also, XLF, which was heavily red today, has bought back up to green. Again, we talked about XLF in tier 2 yet again yesterday. XLF, have you guys gone and looked at XLF's daily chart? It's ridiculous. It's almost as ridiculous, or not more ridiculous, than 2022 Nvidia or 2023 Nvidia. Straight up. Which makes you wonder, all the bickering we do back and forth about who's going to be our leader, and you know who's winning? The banks, the credit agencies. We're all getting destroyed at the pumps, at the grocery stores, and the banks are raking in the dough hand over fist. The banks are straight up. JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Visa, all of them, straight up. All the credit agencies got that interest, baby. So XLF is supporting the S&P big time. Big time, getting rocked. Good entry point on Nasdaq, back to highs. Oh yeah. Divide and conquer. Divide and conquer. How much of printing of the money supports that dumping into the banks? I'm sure a lot. You know, my answer to that would probably be a lot of speculation, but probably a lot of it. I think it's just everything is a domino effect of what happened from coronavirus. Everything that we're experiencing now is domino effect. From the story I had of people buying houses for cash, it's fallout from people putting on their houses on the market in 2021 for 300% of what it was 5 years prior, and getting cash offers, myself included. So I sold my house for nearly 220% of what I paid for it 8 years prior. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, and it's throwing an incredible amount of money into the market. That's why the stock market's going crazy. House market's still hot. People are still not pulling back on interest rate payments. It's crazy. They're going to take ES back to the new high of the day. Nasdaq has already bounced 563 off of our liquidity sweep of 537. Beautiful. Beautiful. The morning high and low is probably the best indicator you can draw. The best lines you can put on your chart, other than the support, resistance, volume-based stuff, is the morning high and low. It's fantastic. Do it. If you don't like the 1 hour, trim it up. Try the 15. Try the 30. Try the 45. It works. Love it. 571, still going. Beautiful. Still going. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Profitable trading can be pretty boring if you just wait. Amazing day, isn't it? It's a fantastic day. Fantastic day. 5-time U.S. chess champion Hikaru Nakamura says he made more money from trading than he did playing chess. The champion of chess makes more money trading. Love it. Saw that interview. Guy's a genius. 580. So far, we're looking at a 50-point recovery off of the morning low. Even on the 5-minute, there were 0 candles that should have stopped you out of a long off of that liquidity sweep under 537. Do y'all know what I mean by liquidity sweep? Instead of what did we talk about a couple weeks ago on tier 2? Anybody remember? A lot of people said it helped them trade a lot better. His brain is a computer. I think your brain has to be a computer to play that level of chess. So if you're going to look to play levels like this, longs, try to play your entry point where they're going to sweep liquidity, not at your level. And that's exactly what happened right there. 537 was my target, looking for a sweep. They got down to, 10 points lower. Bottom wicked it, put on 50-point profit. 2570 NASDAQ. So, coming up on 11:30, I'm going to call it a day after then. Looks like most people has already moseyed on down anyway. Usually we've got about 200 people in the stream. It's dwindled down to about 90 after the past 4 weeks. People are bored out of their mind with this market. Myself included. I don't blame them. Personally, I like it. It gives me a chance to catch my breath and learn. 100%. Yep, 100%. Any final questions here? I got about 10 minutes left before I wrap things up here. About what trades we took today, about how I got that 537 sweep as a target. I want to make sure y'all understand this stuff. Use our time wisely. Stopped out 4 for 4 on futures today. 3 shorts, 1 long, 537 high. Nice, Kennedy. Great job, buddy. 4 for 4 is amazing. Keep it up, man. Keep it up. If I stop trading, my wife puts me to work. It's all right. You got to be a good husband. You got to take care of the wife. Got to take care of the wife. Once we cleared 594, I elected to enter Wilds. Once we cleared 594 support, that's where I got in. What do you think about YMES leading the market instead of tech? Little rotation at the moment. RTY has been grossly underperforming for a while. Today, they are starting to come along after underperforming today as well. Just like a little rotation out of the strong market into the smaller caps today. The big thing is, now that question, if you were to extrapolate that question over the long haul and look to happens post-election, you will see what happened. If you go back and look at RTY and look what happened in November of 23. November of 23, not only do we know that the NASDAQ bounced and everything else kind of bounced and started going strong, but also RTY started to perform after grossly underperforming alongside of the mega caps. So if RTY begins to perform and there's no rotation in or out and everything's kind of correlating, you'll have a 2021 style market where everything goes pretty green. Now that will only occur in a true bull market. When the market is truly bullish and we're off to the races and going like 2021, you'll see the small caps begin to perform alongside mega, and we'll have a very, very green market. That has not been the case for many, many years. Gross underperformance of the Dow and small caps. Appreciate your time and help us learn. Nice, Adam. Appreciate that, buddy. Can we look at TLT before you go? Such low volume, but it seems to be reversing. Yeah, let's take a look. Which time frame do you want to look at? Five to 15 minute. All right, I'll go to the 15 minute. So 15-minute TLT here. If you're looking at a shorter time frame like this, it's been on a slow, steady downtrend since October 1st. The entire month of October, I think with the exception of one day, TLT has finished red, which is pretty disgusting. It's been downtrend literally for half a month now. I mean, honestly, it's been since middle of September, but it went on a slow little bounce there in middle of September. But so now today we do have a little bounce, but it's still in the downward channel. It still hasn't been able to reclaim a prior high. It still hasn't been able to put on a high volume bounce. So in my opinion, there's no sign of reversal here on TLT, which is pretty terrifying. The ramifications of a perpetually decreasing bond market is pretty horrifying. TLT now is 93.94. It's already rejected 101, so we're down 7, almost 8 points, so about 7 to 8% in the past month. If you look on the daily chart, we have a high volume influx on Thursday with a very tight candle. So the sellers absorbed every bit of that buying action we had on October 10th. So in my opinion, I think TLT is going to go to 91.92. I think 91.92 before we have a major bounce. But still, until then, I need volume. I need the volume that we saw on August 2nd. I need the volume that we saw on April 10th, etc., etc. Haven't been other countries dumping our bonds like crazy? Yeah, in my opinion, that's one of two factors of what's causing the bond market to be destroyed. Is that the Asian community, the Asian countries like Asia, China and Japan, are trying to repatriate their funds. In order to do that, you've got to dump United States Treasuries, because they're the largest holders of United States Treasuries in the world. Dump the United States Treasuries, repatriate into their own respective economies, which is what they're trying to do. So I think absolutely, yeah, that's what's causing that. Squirrel. Do you think it's time to take some VIX calls? Oh man, I don't know. I would not personally long volatility here because it's a coin toss. I don't know. The reason why the VIX is elevated over 20, we talked about this morning, is the fact that we don't know what's going to happen in 3 weeks. In 3 weeks, we have the biggest election in history going to throw down. So we don't know what's going to happen. You know, it could go on. It could be one of those things where one part or the other contests the election. It lasts for a month and a half, and the market starts to sell off because we don't know what's going to happen. Or it could be, all right, we know the day of. We know the very next day. We know who the candidate is. All the uncertainties behind us, and then SPX goes to 6,000. And then after that, we have the shakeout of who the candidate actually is and what the economy is going to price in. But the whole point of that is that the market is now pricing in uncertainty. I wouldn't necessarily use fear, but I see uncertainty because we don't know who's going to win. And that's what the VIX is doing here. So once the unknown becomes known, IV drops, VIX sells off, and we bounce, and we go up. And if that happens, I think VIX will sell off precipitously, and the SPX will tap 6,000, if we're not already there by the time the election occurs. So I personally would not touch long VIX. I personally wouldn't touch any VIX right now. To me, it's a big warning sign of what's occurring here on the VIX. When playing the 1 hour opening range, looking at the morning low liquidity sweep, are you looking for signs buyers stepping in, such as bottom wicks or long ones watching order flow, or are you only basing those trades on price action? I'm trying to dance with both of those back and forth. It's like it's a symphony of watching VPA and order flow. If I see supportive measures, like for example, 537 gave me a lot of confidence off the morning low. 537-ish was the morning low. It was also the liquidity on Bookmap. They swept it by about 10 points, and they bottom wicked it. The reason why I was able to call that so accurately is simply because everything was lining up for that move. It's not very often I've got a very large liquidity level at the morning low, and it worked out really well. On top of that, the aggressive imbalance began at the morning high. It's not like the market opened, chopped sideways for 10 minutes, and then we launched. The market launched right at the open, and it caused a very large imbalance at the morning low. So it gave us a very high confidence, high liquidity sweep at the morning low because we had a bunch of things. VPA, morning low, imbalance at the morning low, and then liquidity on the Bookmap. Imbalances are fantastic. They show a very big vacuum of orders that usually has to be cleaned up. What should the outlook be if we have extreme money printing, multiple countries dumping our bonds, and the government spending what we don't have? I'm waiting for a market crash. Well, I completely agree with you. We should have a market crash. If you were to ask me at the top of 2021, if you were to ask me at the bottom of 2022 when we sold off that we would be almost at 6,000 now, I would say you're freaking crazy. There's no way. But that's why this market has been so difficult. It's because it's one, not only it's not just because of the green or because it's always up. It's because the volatility has remained high while we are climbing up to 6,000. It's not like this has been a slow grind up to 6,000. We've had phenomenal shakeouts, huge sell-offs, equally aggressive buy-ups. It's been volatile for ever since the 2021 move. So, in my opinion, it's just liquidity driven. It all boils down to liquidity. And an obscene amount of liquidity. And then the zero DTEs compound that. That's just my opinion, though. I feel like the zero DT market dynamic makes it very hard to see those sustained moves to downside. I completely agree with you. In fact, some people have guessed that or forecasted that we'll never again limit down. The market will never again limit down outside of some geopolitical event like a nuclear bomb going off. That the market will never again limit down because every opportunity to sell off has been used to buy zero DT calls and make money. And as long as zero DT calls are manufacturing, keyword there, the deltas on portfolios, it's going to be difficult to have that sustained 7% sell-off. Because every major red candle, 3-4% red day, is used to hammer the zero DT calls. And it's not because there's some, Italian jabroni on Wall Street with gabagoo dripping down his shirt waiting to buy. It's because the algorithms that run portfolios are set to a certain delta. When they see a certain value on the option chain, they are programmed to start buying. And when the deltas on the zero DTEs, which are very lucrative products, sell all the way off to a penny or to 1 point on a 4% red day, you get the hammer. The hammer turns on. And that's why you get those strong V flows, the V recoveries. So I don't know if that's the case or not. I'm not smart enough to tell you if we're ever going to have a limit down day, but I will say I'm a very big believer in the fact that it'll be very difficult to have a 7% limit down day again, simply because of the 0 DTE action. Because at some point, the 0 DTE puts no longer pay. When you're down 4 or 5%, unless you continue to buy like 100 points outside of the money every time we go down 1%, the 0 DTE puts, the deltas on those things reach to, they're so far deep in the money that they're no longer conducive to profitability on the portfolios, the algorithms. So they stop buying the puts, they start buying calls, and they start selling the puts, which creates a massive positive delta flow, which changes the hedging parameters, which induces more buying, and we recover. That's why we've had, a couple, 2 or 3, 4% red days in 2022 and 2023, but nothing beyond that. We usually get to about 3.5 to 4% on our worst said red days, which has only happened like 3 times, and then they bounce it. So I think you're 100% on the money. It's all about the hedging parameters of the portfolios that are based on algorithmic programming. It's fascinating. Thanks for the information today. Just found you, and I like the way you look at the markets. Thanks, B. Morgan. Appreciate that, buddy. Let me know if you have any questions. Hit me up with a DM if you have any more. The trajectory of higher time frame moving averages still pointed up, holding 20%. Moved down here only 466. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's pretty fascinating stuff. It is, especially if you are a student of the game. Like if you're in this to learn, not just to sit here and try to scalp money. It's a fascinating topic. I've been elbow deep in the markets for a third of my entire life. So it's part of me. It's part of who I am. I was born in it. And it's fascinating to see this the past 4 years. Every time I think the market can't teach me anything else, it says, pull up a chair, son. I got something else to teach you. I was born in the dark. Yeah. All right, 11:32. Final parting shots. Shots across the bow. Questions, comments, concerns, criticisms. Trading criticisms, not anything else. Today's up ES move this morning wasn't what I was expecting. I was watching the decrease in volume of the daily. Don't think it would continue. That's true, Flux. You did note that there is decreasing volume, but decreasing volume does not mean a sell-off is imminent. All it means is that the buyers could potentially be running out of steam, and or we could be entering into consolidation phase after a leg up. So you can't make any kind of downside thesis simply because there's a lack of volume. It's kind of like science. If you're looking at science, if there's a lack of information from a scientific hypothesis, you can't fill it with conjecture. Just because you don't know something because there's a lack of information doesn't mean you can create fact based on that. In the same way with trading. If there's a lack of volume, you can't fill it with a bias. You have to see what you have to see. So when I see a green move up with diminishing volume and slower price action, I could think that we're coming into an area of possible weak area, but I can't make it an actionable downside position until I see an aggressive top wick with high volume. A high volume top wick after a low volume move up indicates that we have finally hit a supply. Because think about it. If the buyers are kind of just drifting along, doing their thing, and then Mike Tyson comes out of nowhere and punches them in the face, you've got this huge high volume supply, which means we finally hit an area where the algorithms are programmed to sell, where we have open sell orders up there. And knowing what we know about the market is the market seeks out liquidity. It goes from liquidity to liquidity. So the market climbs, it transacts liquidity of supply, it top wicks back down and sells off. And now it's our job to find out where the demand is. So it sells off precipitously, usually pretty quickly, until we hit the next demand. So Yes, you are right to note the volume, and volume does indicate a potential weakness, but it doesn't indicate downside yet because the market can continue to climb on low volume and dropping volume. You just have to be on guard to look for top wicks. That's all. Thanks, Mojo. Appreciate it, buddy. That's why I love trading, though. It's always challenging every general lucrative. Yeah. Yeah. You're welcome, Flux. Hopefully you have the capacity for understanding that. Get it? I love it. I love it. Dad jokes, baby. When do you think there'll be a downtrend with VIX this high? When a uncertain volatile event occurs. When there's a need for this VIX to drop. Or I'm sorry, for the VIX to go up. I'm sorry. $563. Has your major SPX retracement thesis changed? It's changed timeline. So I do think the SPX will have a significant sell-off at some point in the near future. I just don't know when. I'm certainly not playing it, and I don't know when it's going to occur. There's so much weird, man. I'm the first one to admit that there is so much wonky stuff going on here. I don't make heads or tails of it. So I'm just playing the VPA signals on the daily, and I'm reducing my now swing trades until I can get something I can put my thumb on and going from there. Everything else, like those conversations about the major sell-off, that's purely for entertainment purposes only and to have some fun conversation until that becomes actionable. So I do think in the next 16, 18 months, 12 months, somewhere in that ballpark, we will face a pretty severe sell. I just don't know when it's going to occur. I don't know what's going to cause it. And I'm not going to play it until I see it. In 3 weeks, we'd all should be unburdened by what has been. I just can't wait for it to be over, man. I can't wait for it to be over. What is this? That is one of the sexiest weapons I've seen. And I don't even like Canics. Sweet Sassy Molassie. I'm going to start our OnlyFans of just pictures of guns. And this would be my profile picture. Oh yeah. Sorry, somebody just sent me this. Armed V with OM, yeah. I've been watching the SPY 10-day moving average and waiting until it crosses below the 20. Until that happens, can't really swing short. I like that. My 2021 and prior strategy was the 34.50. So you do the 10.20, I do the 34.50. Fantastic resource. Look at that. Look at that. That's moderately priced for a Turan tactical too. Those are some high-end products, and that is a reasonable price for a high-quality build. Or you could do the John Wick Combat Master for a cool 7Gs. remember when Canic was super cheap. Yeah, they're still not the best, but anything Turan touches does a great job. All right, y'all. I am out of here. Couple of trades for me today. Kind of laid out what they were. NASDAQ, is, in my opinion, is a lot more tradable than ES today. ES is still kind of pinned flat. NASDAQ hollowed out a nice little range. I'm done for the day. No more trades for me. I've been sticking to a pretty hardcore morning session only the past couple of weeks, and it's been working out really well for me. I've been grossly avoiding the afternoon sessions, and I've been pretty happy with that decision. So if you find me being a little quiet after I sign off, it's intentional. That's because I'm not really focusing on the markets in the afternoon. Not to mention I am wiring an entire house at the moment. So, yeah. I smell like turkey sandwiches and Romex. If you have any other questions about anything, please let me know. I'll be happy to explain anything we talked about today in greater detail if I didn't already. It is recorded on the YouTube, so you can go back and review that at any time that you'd like on the YouTube channel. Other than that, in terms of tomorrow's news catalysts, we've got Empire State Manufacturing at 8:30 and Fed Daily Speaking at 11:30 and a couple more Fed speeches, but very, very weak catalyst day. So watch the VIX, watch the indexes, watch the volume of today's close, and we'll go from there. Until that, y'all have a good rest of the day. Stay classy, stay safe, and I'll see you tomorrow. I'm out. See you.